but it's attached to the skin all along there. But yeah, I mean, you know, with my daughter's horses, and you look at them, their necks kind of shiver when they try to get rid of flies, and I don't know if that's what the is happening. I mean, I just can't think of any other for pets.
We're talking about movies.
Now that's what it does, but I don't know what good it is.
Well, after I was doing that, when I like just let my mouth relax, it's like it drops really easily. I'm like, okay.
Okay, so can I erase this now? I'm going to redraw this lateral view here.
Okay. Jack, that's on sugar. Oh yeah, love booze. Eat the cupcakes. Cupcakes. The flour ones, I think we did that. Yeah, really good. The nipple's not supposed to go through.
That's what I was thinking. It still looks awesome.
Не знаю, куда так делать, когда губы подтягивают.
We're talking about Red House, but we didn't have Red House. We didn't have Candy Corn.
Makeup. It looks great. Well, you have kids, you guys can practice on.
I guess we're gonna have to use one of you guys' faces because Joe has hair, I have hair.
We'll draw with the hair.
It looks like we're not candidates. So.
November's almost over, so you guys can shave.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that it's coming off. It might just stay, just because of that reason.
I'll bring my kid over, you guys can play around with both of them.
There you go.
A few models.
Yeah, my girls
How
are too
cool
busy in
would
there
it be
too
if you
big.
like,
Sit there and
you know, like how they do
let a
like
kid play
haircuts and
Nintendo.
stuff in there. You like put the.
You draw on my 2-year-old, she's going to want to draw back on you.
Right?
She'll be like, I'll do it.
I don't think it's thick enough though. You need, like,
Since they have crowns on your wall, you'll now wake up and your whole face will be drawn.
something like that.
All right, so what we do, without looking, you have it already. What's the nerve of mastication? What muscle, what nerve, cranial nerve innervates our chewing muscle?
5.
Trigeminal, third branch.
Yes.
Okay? So instead of just doing the sensory for the lower jaw, it innervates the muscles that move the lower jaw. And there are 4. 2 of them share the same name. So the first one is the masseter, which is easy. It sounds like mastication. So its origin is going to be on the zygomatic arch, partly off of the maxilla, and it's going to come and insert onto the ramus of the mandible. All right? So I'm going to draw those fibers down. Therefore, when it contracts, it's going to elevate the mandible, close the jaw, allowing pressure to be used to grind your teeth. So this is masseter. In fact, you can feel that muscle get larger when you clamp your jaw. Clamp and release, and you can feel its shortness. The muscles are getting shorter and fatter. All right, the next muscle is actually deeper to this one, and it has its origin off of the squamous portion of the temporal bone. Some will come from the parietal, some from the frontal. All right, it's a very broad muscle. It fills in that shallow region just above the zygomatic arch. Its fibers go behind the zygomatic arch and attach to that sharp point, that sharp process right here, the coronoid process. So notice the orientation of the fibers. Some of them are almost directly above the mandible. Obviously, you can see how these are going to function to elevate the mandible. But a good third to half the fibers come from behind the temporal mandibular joint. This is the only muscle to have fibers that have that relationship relationship to the joint. And so these muscle fibers can also pull the mandible back. So our terms for lifting the mandible up is elevation. Pulling the mandible back is retraction. And pulling it forward is protraction. Okay, so we have elevation, depression, protraction, retraction. So this broad but relatively thin muscle is temporalis. It's the only muscle that can retract the mandible because its fibers have their origin behind the joint. So it can pull it back. Okay, and it's going to insert onto the coronoid process.
Wait, so how does it protract and retract at the same
It
time?
doesn't protract. It doesn't. These fibers will do it weakly. Okay, it won't do it at the same time,
Right.
but it can protract. We have other muscle that does it more strong than the temporalis does. So, but when you retract, so protract your jaw, and then when you pull it back, this is the only muscle you can use to do that. All right, now if we cut the mandible, all right, here's that picture with the raphe again. So we have to cut the mandible, so I'm going to do that over here. Cut the mandible down to size. What is this bony process that I'm showing right here?
Starts with a C.
Starts with a P.
P.
What's the bone? Pterygoid plates, exactly, of the palatine bone.
Right.
So this is a lateral pterygoid plate,
Didn't know what you were
and it
talking
gives rise to two muscles known as the pterygoids. So medial pterygoid and lateral pterygoid. These muscles are going to insert on the deep surface of the mandible, right? So masseter is out here, pterygoids are going to be the inside. So to see it, I had to cut away the mandible. Here's my cut surface, if you will, of the mandible. So the fibers that go vertical are known as the medial pterygoid. So that's medial pterygoid. It's certainly going to elevate the mandible, and it will help to move the mandible from side to side as if you're grinding the food on your molars. That would be this one. Okay. Both of these have their origin off the lateral pterygoid process. So even though we call them medial and lateral pterygoids, they're both attached to the lateral pterygoid process. Here's the lateral pterygoid. It goes horizontally, and its fibers kind of wrap around the neck of the mandible. So this is the one that's going to protract. It's going to pull the mandible forward. So this would be the lateral pterygoid. So it will also move side to side and elevate, but it can pull the neck of the mandible forward, as you can see in that illustration. Now if we look at from the back, this gets a little easier maybe to understand its position. So here would be the medial pterygoid coming and inserting on the inside deep surface of the mandible. And here's the lateral pterygoid going to the neck of the mandible. Okay. Again, we don't have models of these muscles because they're deep inside. At Sac State, we have a couple of cadaver molds that show them, but we're limited to diagrams. If I ask you to identify them, it would be from diagrams. Okay. All right, so let's take a break. You can study the face models. The morning class works on their take-home. So you're really study time on the models. Your quiz, we do have a lab quiz when you come back on Monday from the muscles on page 7 through the muscles on page 15, including infrahyoid, but not including sternocleidomastoid or longus colli. So 7 to 15, stopping at the bottom of infrahyoid. So the last one is thyrohyoid. Okay, and it's purely identification, so I will be asking origin and insertion and function. All right, so let's come back